CHM and use promo code WELLNESS for a 50% credit towards your first month. That's 1-833-JOIN-CHM and use promo code WELLNESS.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy tonight, but rain chances are increasing with a few scattered storms in the afternoon to evening, both Thursday and Friday. So tonight, low of 75, we're dry and muggy in the morning. A high of 90, heat index of 98, a little higher humidity for Thursday. And anytime from lunchtime on, let's watch for a few isolated but heavy bursts of some showers or thunder showers. They tend to fade as the sun sets in the evening. That'll happen again on Friday with a high of 90 and again a heat index around 98. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck, taxed. Your property, taxed. Everything you buy, taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5, paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Heading to a wedding this weekend. My lovely bride, Suzanne, and I are. And that reminded me that this is very much wedding season, right? You know, the beautiful summer months here in the heartland. If you have a wedding coming up or another special occasion in your life, there's a lot of anniversaries this time of year, birthday parties, things of that sort. I got the one-stop shop for you. A beautiful place with wonderful people and beautiful stuff. Newstedter's Fine Jewelers. Newstedter's Fine Jewelers is a locally owned, independently owned, and yeah, family owned. We're on like the second and third generations of Newstedders running Newstedter's Fine Jewelers. Fine jewelry does not mean expensive jewelry. The lovely thing about Newstedders and the lovely people there is they work with you. This is not some giant, sterile, big box store. The reason they've been in business for since 1961 is because of the service they provide. Yes, they have all the wonderful things that the big box stores have, and I would argue much more and much better. They've also got that service aspect, and that makes a huge difference. That's the Newstedders difference that you feel when you walk through the door. They've got beautiful rings. They've got awesome diamonds. They've got gorgeous watches. I have one of their men's watches from the Belova Sinatra collection. It's absolutely spectacular. My wife's gotten some stuff there as well. My other family members, they absolutely love Newstedders. They can repair things there. They can refurbish things there. They can create things for you there. Your one-stop jewelry shop, Newstedders Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com. That's Newstedders Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Breaking news to share with you right now from CENTCOM. Quote, at 3 p.m. Eastern, U.S. forces launched operations for a second wave of strikes today. These strikes are targeting their military capabilities that they use to threaten those ships along the strait. The United States military holding Iran accountable at the commander-in-chief's direction is the quote from CENTCOM.
4:07, and welcome into the July 15th Wednesday edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. If you are watching the show on News Talk STL's page or on Facebook page, you'll see that my partner Tim Jones is out today. He is, as they say in the business, on assignment, but Tim will be back with us tomorrow. But my partner, I guess he's my partner today, Joey V, is in studio with us. Joey will be with us throughout the whole day as he does because he runs the board. All of this would not be possible without Joey V. You heard that clip there from the news about the president and the United States launched a new round of attacks on Iran over the week or last night. And the president yesterday convened a situation room meeting. That's pretty serious there. That's when all of the Joint Chiefs of Staff get together and the president asks their advice on how he should do some of these military maneuvers. U.S. Central Command said that it hit a dozen military targets near the Strait of Hormuz. And I always ask, we've been bombing them for like the last 3 or 4 months, shooting off a lot of Patriot missiles, a lot of different types of armaments. I just wonder, what do they have left for us to bomb? It seems like we should have bombed everything, but I guess they can rebuild some of those things. The president said last night on Fox News, quote, "We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate. So it sounds like the president is going to ramp up this war and do what he had threatened to do a few weeks before the ceasefire. He's going to go after some of their infrastructure, bridges and roads and things of that nature. Things that have a dual use for the military and for civilians. The Democrats will be saying that these are war crimes going after civilian infrastructure, but these are dual use things. These are things that can be used for the military and for civilians. And, I'm not a military guy. I never served in the military, but the main emphasis when you are fighting a war is to get to the point where your enemy can no longer fight with weapons. They don't have any more weapons, and you have to absolutely break their will. And we've seen during this war, the Iranians, the hardliners, have a very tough will. But I think that the president, if he goes after this infrastructure, I think that will help break their will. And hopefully that will help some of the Iranian citizens maybe rise up and take over their government. Unfortunately, they don't have a Second Amendment there in Iran, so they don't have a lot of arms. But we did talk with Steve Bucci last week about this, and I asked him, is there a possibility of some type of covert action? Maybe the CIA could go in there and, give them some weapons and help some of the insurgents there that are in Iran, secret insurgents, maybe help them try to overthrow their government. He said that is a possibility. He also mentioned that on the more rural areas of Iran, those people are not as allegiant, don't have as much allegiance to the Iranian government as people that live in the cities, and that those people could possibly rise up. They are close to Kurdistan. It's not an official country, but it's part of Iraq, and the Kurds are great fighters. There could be a possibility of them, teaming up with the Kurds and helping to overthrow this regime that's been a thorn in the side of the United States for the last 47 years. Speaking of President Trump, he is heading to Carlisle, Pennsylvania today. He's there for a national security summit that's organized by Senator Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania. They are touting this as a way to earn back voters' trust on the economy ahead of the midterms. And as you all know, affordability is going to be a huge issue in the midterm elections. That's one of the points that the Democrats have been hitting pretty hard. A White House official said this about this conference today in Pennsylvania. They want to highlight the revitalization and reindustrialization in areas of the country, identify the obstacles to reaching them, and secure investments, with Pennsylvania at the heart of this promise. They say that the summit is expected to, quote, result in billions of dollars in investment and thousands of jobs for the swing state. So the president's doing is what they promised months ago, that the president was going to get on the campaign trail and make his case to the American people, tout the benefits of the big, beautiful bill. It is July, mid-July, and the midterms will be here before you know it. And Especially the president especially needs to be focusing on affordability issues now that the war has resumed. Oil prices have reached a 4-month high since the resumption of the military strikes on Iran. But as we saw before, once that Strait of Hormuz is kind of stabilized, gas prices go down pretty quickly. And we had the CPI numbers that were released last week that showed that inflation was the lowest point it had been since April of 2020. And, of course, the big majority of that was gas prices, oil prices. Oil and gas factors into every part of our economy. You need trucks to bring the goods to market. That takes fuel. Diesel fuel, which is more expensive than gasoline. You put them on the trains. Trains take diesel, of course. So oil is a big part of our economy. And when you have disruptions in the Middle East, of course, oil prices go up, and that affects every part of the economy. Another big thing happening in Washington, and Tim and I have talked to Congressman Bob Onder about this, it is the Reconciliation 3.0. J.D. Vance was set to meet with House Republicans at 3 p.m. Eastern time today to rally support for a third round of reconciliation. We're hearing that the reconciliation package is roughly about $80 billion. $67 billion of that goes to the Pentagon. They're looking to add $11 billion in farm aid, and it includes parts of the SAVE Act. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise said the framework could hit the floor next week, and they really need to do that. As I mentioned yesterday, the House has less than 10 days before its members take their annual month-long August recess, and they will be back in their districts, of course, campaigning. So 10 days, and, not a lot gets done quickly in Congress, 10 legislative days before they take their annual month-long recess. So they've got a whole lot of work to do. Of course, the president is adamantly wants the SAVE Act passed. And, of course, what's stopping that is the House has passed it 3 times, but some Senate Republicans are against it. The SAVE Act, the majority of the Senate Republicans are in favor of the SAVE Act. The hang-up for some of them is the stipulations on mail-in balloting. Some of these Republican states rely heavily on mail-in ballots, and that's where a lot of Senate Republicans have a problem with the SAVE Act. The president has said that he wants the SAVE Act passed in its whole. He doesn't want the mail-in ballots being released, so that is a huge hang-up there. Regarding the money for the Pentagon, $67 billion, most of that is for the troops and to rearm. But you're having some conservative Republicans in the House that are balking at this Pentagon, $67 billion to the Pentagon, partly because they want to be able to offset some of that spending with spending cuts elsewhere. Chip Roy of Texas, he said there's a 50-50 chance that he could back a procedural vote if to get the agenda back on the agenda, but he is looking for tens of billions of dollars in new defense spending. He said, quote, "We got to pay for everything." The Pentagon hosted a classified briefing Tuesday evening for House Republicans, telling them that they have a need for this additional funding. Regarding the Reconciliation Act in Senate, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, he is skeptical that a Reconciliation 3.0 can be done. He said he's reported as saying that this will be a heavy lift. It's really challenging and involves a bumpy path to getting votes in his chamber. And a big part of that is adding the SAVE Act to the reconciliation bill. The Senate parliamentarian has said that the SAVE Act doesn't have anything to do with financial matters, and so they are worried that if the SAVE Act is attached to Reconciliation 3.0, that the Senate parliamentarian will throw it out. So 10 days left before Congress goes on break. They have a whole lot of work to do before that break comes up. And we will talk all about that in the coming days and weeks here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps. We always try to keep you up to date. We have a huge show for you today. Don Palmer is taking over for our good friend Zach Smith. He's a senior legal fellow at the Integrity Center at the Heritage Foundation. We're going to talk to him about the president's primetime address tomorrow. It's been speculated that the president is going to reveal some formerly classified documents that showed that that the foreign interference in the 2020 election was real. He is expected to talk about that tomorrow. We'll talk with Don Palmer about the Save America Act and voter ID and some other legal matters. We might get into some Supreme Court stuff with him as well. He's taking over, as I said, for Zach Smith today. Chris's Corner, we're going to talk about, where's my notes here? Oh, Chris's Corner, I speculated or I kind of foretold this yesterday. Tim talked about how all of the blue states are losing their millionaires and billionaires. My Chris's Corner, the title is The Rich Aren't Just Leaving Blue States, They're Taking the Tax Money with Them. So I will kind of focus on that in Chris's Corner. 506, we've got an open line there. If people want to call in, 314-912-1019. One of the things that I want to get to, Joey, in that 5 o'clock hour is this horrific story that happened in East St. Louis regarding the 15 and 16-year-old. The young lady had her 16-year-old boyfriend murder 5 members of her family. A lot more details have been revealed on that today. I want to go over a little bit of that case. You know, every time I think that there's not a crime that can shock me anymore, something like this comes along and does that. Just, you know, it makes me wonder: are these people just are they mentally incompetent? Are they just that evil? What would possess someone to have your boyfriend murder 5 members of your family and have this young man go along with it? It's just absolutely insane. Then at 5:23, we'll speak with Vernon Norman. He's a candidate for State Senate, District 14. That is in the Mid-County area. U-City is included in that. My wife is a unpaid advisor to his campaign. He'll be in studio with us talking about his campaign and his priorities for the district. And, of course, August 4th is the upcoming primary, so we'll have him. We've had a lot of candidates here on News Talk STL in the weeks and the following days up to the election. And then 5:43, we'll speak with Steve Manns. You hear me every day talk to you about Timothy's Restaurant in Creve Coeur. He's going to be in studio with us. We're going to see if his executive chef, Will Mabry, has some new food that he has put together and maybe want to promote. I tell you guys all the time, I love their lobster pot pie, and my wife loves the lobster pot pie. I love pretty much everything on the menu. So we've got a huge show. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy tonight, but rain chances are increasing with a few scattered storms in the afternoon to evening, both Thursday and Friday. So tonight, low of 75, we're dry and muggy in the morning. A high of 90, heat index of 98, a little higher humidity for Thursday. And anytime from lunchtime on, let's watch for a few isolated but heavy bursts of some showers or thunder showers. They tend to fade as the sun sets in the evening. That'll happen again on Friday with a high of 90 and again a heat index around 98. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here to tell you all about Comprehensive Chiropractic, my healthcare provider for all of my musculoskeletal aches and pains. And hey, we've all got them, right? whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, I know something is probably bothering you. Why are you living with the pain? You don't have to. You can go visit my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic. Doctors Pat Fader, Caleb Gorman, Dr. Benton. They're great healthcare providers. I have been a patient of Dr. Fader's for about 20 years, and I see all the docs there because I don't know which ones you're going to go see, so I test them all out. They're all fantastic. You can find them at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com. They can help you no matter what stage of life you're at, whether you're male, female, young, old, an athlete, a weekend warrior, or somewhere in between. They can help you out with all your maladies. Yes, they can help you with the chronic pain and the chronic injuries. They can help you with acute injuries, like if you have a slip and fall or an accident or something of that sort. It does not matter. They can treat you. They can treat every part of your body. And I've had them do just that. I had some hip pain this week, and Dr. Gorman worked on me, and then he gave me some exercises. And let me tell you, it works. I feel so much better. They help me remain absolutely and completely mobile. They have Pilates and yoga classes. They have personal trainers. They have supplements available as well to help you with your holistic healthcare needs and then some. cchiropractic.com, cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. Tim Whitney has spent nearly 24 years serving Jefferson County through the Sheriff's Office. As a former SWAT commander, he has led under pressure, made critical decisions, and understood what it means to be prepared when leadership matters most. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, Tim helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability. Tim Whitney brings the kind of real-world executive experience Jefferson County needs in its next county executive.
I'm Tim Whitney. Jefferson County isn't just where I've served. It's where my wife and I are raising our family and where we've chosen to build our life. I'm running for county executive because I believe our county's future matters. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home. I'd be honored to earn your vote.
Paid for by Friends of Tim Whitney, Heather Missy Treasurer.
Let's get real. Here's the truth about eliminating Missouri's income tax.
I'm here with Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. And Camelia, one of the things I'm hearing about Amendment 5 is the worry that it's just going to give politicians a blank check in Jefferson City to raise taxes or to tax a lot more things. Should voters be worried about this?
Actually, it's the opposite. Amendment 5 does not automatically raise any taxes. Any future changes still have to pass the legislature. And more importantly, if lawmakers change the sales tax code, they have to make equal reductions in income tax. It's designed to make our tax code more fair for working Missourians and also to keep the government in check. So no, Amendment 5 actually protects taxpayers.
Learn more at afpmissouri.com.
Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The other thing that we blocked yesterday was the SAVE Act, right? Which was literally allow this administration to rig our democracy so that it would be hard for any Democrat in any state to win any election.
426 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. On the line with us is Don Palmer, Senior Legal Fellow for Election Integrity at the Heritage Foundation. Don, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's good to be on.
Excellent. So, Don, let's just dig right into that clip there. Does the Save America Act rig elections so that Democrats will never win again?
Well, it was very insightful that she made that statement. I think it's true. But what's very insightful from my perspective is that she is really trying to rabble her base up and basically ignore the American people and ignore Democrats who overwhelmingly want voter ID and citizenship verification. And so she's willing to, make a statement like that. It's pretty brazen.
Dave, some Republicans in the Senate support the SAVE Act, but they have issues with the mail-in ballot stipulations. Can you have a fully effective SAVE Act without the stipulations on mail-in balloting?
I think so. I mean, look, there's always going to be some mail balloting because we have overseas military. We also have states have absentee voting. Most of the issues are with universal or mail ballots where they're mailing it to every single person. A lot of states like Texas, if you're over 65, you can request an absentee ballot. I think the core of the SAVE Act from the very beginning was how do we verify citizenship and how do you confirm identity? And so those are the two core principles from my perspective. And of course, there's a lot of great stuff in the SAVE Act that folks have been fighting for years. But I think you need to, those are the two core principles. And of course, I think you could have the SAVE Act without some of the mail ballot provisions.
Speaking with Don Palmer, Senior Legal Fellow for Election Integrity at the Heritage Foundation. Don, the president is scheduled to give a primetime address tomorrow night. It is speculated that he's going to talk about revelations or declassified information showing that foreign interests tried to influence the 2020 election. A lot of critics would say that's not really news because you'd expect foreign actors to try to influence our elections all the time. That's already been going on. Is there any news here to learn?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it does occur periodically. The Russians for many decades, this was their trade craft. They would try to manipulate public opinion in the United States during elections. And the Chinese have now got on board with this. I think a lot of folks will be listening closely as to what the Chinese may or may not have done in the 2020 election and what they're, and I think what the president is trying to do is deter anyone, the Chinese, Iranians, or Russians from trying to manipulate public opinion or interfere in any way with this 2026 election. And so I'm going to be open ears listening to what the president has to have to say.
Don, the Justice Department recently warned election officials nationwide about potential criminal liability if they knowingly allow non-citizens to vote. Is this an enforcement action that is Washington's purview? And, my personal view is, Democrats always try to say that this is not happening, and if it does, it's very, very rare. But if one non-citizen vote, that's too many.
Yeah, I mean, non-citizens. I mean, it should be a bipartisan issue. There are some technologies and programs available that you can run your voter registration list through programs like the SAVE database and get information that the person may be a citizen. You can actually get documentation to prove that they are, or it allows you to do further investigation. So I think the Department of Justice is obviously applying maximum pressure to this. Obviously, if you intentionally register a non-citizen to vote or to allow them to vote, that's obviously a crime. Now, obviously, if someone is mistakenly placed on the rolls, that's something the Department of Justice has to investigate. But I think the core issue is really every state should be using every tool that's available to verify citizenship.
Don, in a previous life, I worked for the St. Louis County Election Board, and I saw firsthand how difficult it was trying to get people that had moved or had died off the voting rolls. There's no system where if you move, you were automatically, deleted. That doesn't happen. The DOJ has sought voter registration information from states. You have a lot of the blue states, and a lot of Democrats are crying foul on that action. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think states should cooperate with the Department of Justice and allow them to look at the voter registration rolls and let them do an analysis. When I worked at the Department of Justice, the 1960 civil rights laws allowed DOJ to have access to those voter rolls. And, there was none of this complaining. There was none of this litigation. They provided those records over to the Department of Justice. And I think it's just a double standard. Now here we are, 2026, and the courts are not deferring to the Department of Justice under that civil rights law, which is somewhat surprising to me. And so I do believe that Republican states primarily should cooperate it to the maximum extent possible with the department and let them look at the voter rolls. This information isn't going to be disclosed in any inappropriate manner, and so I just think it's something that should be done.
Don, last week, the president removed 2 Democratic commissioners from the Election Assistance Commission. How big of a deal is this, and what exactly is the Election Assistance Commission?
Well, it's a big deal. I think that I think the Congress, from a congressional perspective, the power between the Congress and the president, Congress created this independent bipartisan commission to assist the states in the administration of elections. They provide money, they do data collection, they also test and certify voting systems. So these are all very fundamental things, not very political. But I think that with the Supreme Court, weighing in the Slaughter case, it's what are the powers of the president and what are the powers of the Congress, and the president decided to exercise his authority.
Don, as I said, you are a fellow for election integrity at the Heritage Foundation, but you also served as a trial attorney. I want to switch over to the news yesterday that Secretary of State Marco Rubio proclaimed the U.S. will dismantle the International Criminal Court. Exactly what is the ICC and how big of a deal is this?
Well, I sure hope that's true. I am not sure we have full authority to dismantle the International Criminal Court. It's basically an international body that investigates war criminals. The problem is that they seem to have most of their investigations are directed toward the state of Israel or the United States, and not really where despots and dictators go around, in their country, suppress their people. And so we've determined that we're just not, we, the United States, are not going to support the International Criminal Court. And now if Secretary of State Rubio is going to take additional actions to basically dismantle that through the UN or through other actions, I fully support that. And I think that, we put up with enough with, rogue courts trying to interfere with the United States foreign policy.
Don, on Capitol Hill yesterday, 2 Supreme Court justices testified on Capitol Hill. It's the first time, I think, in 9 years. In one of those testimonies, the justice revealed that she wears a bulletproof vest on her way home and while she's at home at times. I don't know how long you've served as an attorney, but have you ever seen such rancor in the country regarding the Supreme Court and justices being fearful of their lives to this extent?
Not at the federal level. I mean, at the state level, judges and cops are occasionally threatened, and therefore, some of their information, particularly in voting, is confidential, so people can't just look up their address and show up at their front door. But what you have here is you have the Supreme Court justices going back to Justice Kavanaugh, who was, someone was heading to his door to assassinate him. Supreme Court justices have been threatened. They have come to their door. They have marched outside their homes. I frankly think, and this goes back to the Biden administration, and there needs to be a crackdown in the Commonwealth of Virginia on protesters and folks that are threatening Supreme Court justices. And so there's a reason why at the state level and even the federal level, we try to protect those people that are judges or law enforcement. We want them to be impartial. And look, if somebody is threatening you, it's like the mafia trying to threaten you to kill you. I'm going to kill you unless you do A, B, and C. That is exactly what these protesters are trying to do with these threats. And we just can't have that in a civil society where we expect judges to be impartial and not to have outside influence determine their opinions.
Don, ProPublica, a liberal organization, they did a big quote-unquote expose last summer talking about how some of the Supreme Court justices, they just focused on Republican appointed Supreme Court justices, not the liberal appointed justices that receiving gifts I think Clarence Thomas received a loan to buy a RV bus type of vehicle. Representative Jamie Raskin and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, along with Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, they're introducing a high court's gift ban to block Supreme Court justices from receiving gifts. Is this something that is necessary, do you believe?
Well, that's really a determination of the legislature. They have, when you go back and look at state ethics laws and the federal ethics laws, it's really, do we believe that these type of gifts of going to conferences and that sort of thing, will that improperly influence a judge? And again, for years that's been permissible. Not only Supreme Court justices, but other judge. They go on different trips. They go into travel. I mean, even the Congress, they go on CODELs, congressional delegation trips overseas. And there is some benefit to that. And in the end, it's going to be the Congress determining whether or not they really believe that this negatively influences them, and it should be an ethics either violation or something they disclose more often.
And before we close up here, Don, you, of course, are Senior Legal Fellow for Election Integrity at Heritage Foundation. Democrats are trying to plant the flag that the president, by eliminating these people on this election commission and some other actions that he is taking, that he's going to try to steal the midterm elections in the fall. What are you guys working at there at Heritage to try to keep our elections safe?
Well, we often work with the states where the elections actually take place, and I think that's my response. I served at the EAC. I know it has a role, but our federalism in the United States, and the EAC recognize that, is that, look, elections will take place at the local level with support at states, an electoral college. The results from each state goes to the Congress. And so the bottom line is that things that are done at the federal level, that's not going to really change what happens in each state when it comes to their primary and in November. It's really not. They're going to have their elections. There'll be the results, and those winners will be, provided to the Senate and the House.
Don, any articles there on Heritage that you'd like to direct our audience to?
Well, I did one over the July 4th weekend on 250. It really talks about how folks need to be civically engaged and even go one step further, than voting, and to consider being a poll worker and being part of the process. There are things you can do with your political party of choice, but we really have a problem with civic engagement beyond the registration and voting side of this. And I'm just encouraging people that our forefathers, Thomas Jefferson particularly, said, look, it's really going to rely on the people and to show leadership and to be civically engaged with their community. And so I encourage people to read that and just rededicate yourself to this November and to the future.
I agree with you 100% on civic engagement. As I said, I worked at the St. Louis County Election Board at one time, and I don't know if it's like this in your area, but I think the average volunteer that was working the polls was about 78 years old.
That's true, and that's why we need people to step up. It's a great thing to do, and if it's not for you, you'll find out fairly soon. But look, a lot of people love it. It's very it's like serving your country in the military. I was a former military veteran, and a lot of veterans serve because it gives them that same sense of working for a higher cause.
And it's not a volunteer position. You actually get paid for the day as well. So
you do get paid. That's right.
That's Don.
Put your hand up.
That's Don Palmer, Senior Legal Fellow for Election Integrity at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org, and his X account is Voting Guy. Don, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. All right, 441 on the Chris Arps or Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Excuse me. We are going to have Chris's Corner next. The rich aren't just leaving blue states; they're taking the tax money with them. I'll tell you all about that on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy tonight, but rain chances are increasing with a few scattered storms in the afternoon to evening, both Thursday and Friday. So tonight, low of 75, we're dry and muggy in the morning. A high of 90, heat index of 98, a little higher humidity for Thursday. And anytime from lunchtime on, let's watch for a few isolated but heavy bursts of some showers or thunder showers. They tend to fade as the sun sets in the evening. That'll happen again on Friday with a high of 90 and again a heat index around 98. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Your one-stop roofing shop is Correll Roofing Company. They're found online at CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's CorrellRoofingCo.com. CORRELL, 2 R's, 2 L's. Correll Roofing Company. Who are they? What do they do? Curtis Correll started his own company several years ago. He's in his third decade of roofing and siding and guttering experience, know-how, and knowledge here in the St. Louis region. The company is based in the county of St. Charles. They work all across the region. And from what I just told you, you know they are locally owned, they are independently owned, and they're family owned. Pretty much everybody at Correll is a family member or a close family friend, and they're a wonderful company to work for. I've spoken to many of their employees. I know a lot of them as well. They have a beautiful facility right there in St. Charles. They'll also come to you. They'll come to your home. They'll check everything out, and they'll take care of it for you. Do not throw in with some fly-by-night roofing outfit. Why would you ever do that? You can trust Correll Roofing Company to do the job right, and to do it right the first time. They'll also work with your insurance company. They'll take all that hassle and worry off of your plate as well. And they specialize in everything for the exterior of your home. Yes, they do roofing, but they also do siding and gutters as well. Correll Roofing Company, they can be found at CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's CorrellRoofingCo.com, your one-stop roofing shop.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know, we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
And doesn't 4 also kill majority rule?
Yup. Creates minority rule, where just 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one Missouri congressional district that block any citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass common-sense conservative citizen ballot measures.
That's crazy town stuff.
And we've needed our citizen ballot measure power to pass some big conservative stuff, like outlawing tax hikes without voter approval, lobbyist reforms, and term limits for career politicians.
No way I'm letting a tiny fraction of liberals derail our conservative power. I'm no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Pay 4 buttons or inch per governance.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering for Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most. Your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
447 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and we're going to talk about the rich. They're not just leaving blue states, they're taking the tax money with them.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
For years, we've heard the same argument from progressive politicians. Tax the rich. They tell us the wealthy can afford to pay more. They tell us that if taxes go up, millionaires won't leave because they love the culture, the restaurants, the Broadway shows, the beaches, or the weather too much. In other words, they'll stay put. Well, the IRS just released data that tells a very different story. And it's a story every state legislature in America, including Missouri's, should be paying close attention to. According to the latest IRS migration data, Manhattan attracted more new tax filers than any county in America between 2022 and 2023. At first glance, that sounds like great news. More taxpayers should mean more tax revenue, except that's not what happened. Even though new people moved into Manhattan, the borough lost nearly $922 million in adjusted gross income. Why? Because many of the people leaving were the highest earners. They weren't simply taking themselves, they were taking their incomes, their investments, their business, and most importantly, their tax dollars. Think about that for a moment. A handful of high-income taxpayers can generate more tax revenue than thousands of middle-income households. So when those high earners leave, governments often discover that replacing them isn't nearly as easy as they imagine, and Manhattan isn't alone. Queens, the Bronx, Nassau County, Suffolk County, all ranked among the biggest losers of taxpayers moving to other states. In fact, every one of the 10 counties with the largest losses of taxpayers was located in either New York or California. That isn't a coincidence. Those also happen to be among the highest tax states in America. Now ask yourself another question. Where are these taxpayers going? Are they flocking to states with even higher taxes? No, of course not. They're heading to Florida, Texas, Tennessee, states with lower taxes, friendlier business climates, and in many cases, no state income tax at all. Economists have a phrase for this: people vote with their feet. You don't have to agree with every policy in Texas or Florida to recognize what's happening. When people have the freedom to choose where they live, many choose to keep more of what they earn, and that's especially true for entrepreneurs, investors, retirees, and business owners who have the flexibility to relocate. This is one of the biggest flaws in the tax the rich philosophy. Politicians often assume wealthy taxpayers are trapped, but they're not. Many of them are the most mobile people in the country. If one state dramatically raises taxes, they often have both the resources and the opportunity to move somewhere else, and when they do, the tax base moves with them. That's why this matters. This isn't about envying successful people or defending billionaires. It's about understanding how tax policy actually works. Government doesn't collect taxes from incomes that have left the state. You can't tax someone who now lives in Florida. You can't collect New York income taxes from someone whose primary residence is in Texas. The revenue simply disappears. That's one reason some of these high-tax states now find themselves in a vicious cycle. As wealthy taxpayers leave, governments collect less revenue than projected. To make up the difference, lawmakers often look for even higher taxes or new fees, which encourages even more taxpayers to leave. It's a cycle that's difficult to stop once it begins. Now let's bring this conversation home. Here in Missouri, voters will soon decide whether to continue moving forward, eliminating our state income tax. Opponents warn that lowering income taxes will somehow cripple state government. But if history teaches us anything, it's that people and businesses are attracted to states where they can keep more of what they earn. We've already seen states like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, and others benefit from that reality. The question is, should Missouri compete for those families, entrepreneurs, and businesses, or should we ignore the lessons that New York and California continue to teach us? The IRS numbers don't settle every debate about taxes, but they do settle one. People respond to incentives. And when enough taxpayers decide they've had enough, they don't just leave, they take the tax revenue with them. That is Chris's Corner, and please follow me on X at Chris_Arps and on Facebook, Christopher Arps Politics. Joy, you're not packing up and leaving, are you? You know, you're a wealthy guy.
I wasn't thinking about it. I don't know why I'm stuck here. It's interesting when you think about why do I even live in St. Louis? When did this start? And it turns out my great-grandpa, he was born in St. Louis, but he was a professional baseball player.
Oh, really? I never knew that.
He ended up playing for the Toledo Mud Hens, and then he got drafted by the St. Louis Browns. So he came back to St. Louis. So all the way back in like the 30s, I guess, the family set up shop here in St. Louis and came back to St. Louis. And because of Major League Baseball, I live in St. Louis, I guess. He was actually on the 1944 St. Louis Browns World Series team where they played against the Cardinals and lost. But still, that's kind of cool that St. Louis played St. Louis back in 1944, and my great-grandpa was on a World Series team.
Do you have any memorabilia from that?
Yeah, we sure do. We got signed baseballs and newspaper clippings. There was actually a made-for-TV movie, I believe on ABC, about the outfielder that the Browns had. Who only had one arm.
Oh, yeah.
It's called The Winner Never Quits. And it's interesting because they say my great-grandpa's name a bunch of times in that movie. So my mom was always looking for that. We ended up buying it on VHS. I digitized it. I put it on DVD for her. And then I uploaded the scenes to YouTube so she could watch it whenever she wants. But, they called him Skippy Burns.
Skippy Burns.
Milt Skippy Burns. And he played shortstop.
He played shortstop for I almost said Cleveland Browns. That's a football team.
St.
For the
Louis
St.
Browns.
Louis Browns. And you answered my question because I was going to ask you, was this on your mom or your dad's side? But you said that is your mom's
That's on my
side.
mom's side, yeah.
So what exactly do you have? You have gloves. You got World Series programs. What do you got?
Yeah, bats and stuff. And it's interesting also because of that 1944 team, they have the team photo, and you'll find that picture all over the place. If you go to the Missouri History Museum, I can see my great-grandpa right there just on the wall. When I worked at Plaza Frontenac at the movie theater, there was a Lululemon big booty girl pants store. You know Lululemon? They make the yoga pants that are see-through when girls bend over.
Is that official name, Big Booty?
Big booty pants.
Yeah.
And right on the outside, they had a giant picture of the 1944 St. Louis Browns. So at my work, I'd be like, hey, what's up, Grandpa? How you doing?
Did you tell people, hey, that's my grandpa, and no one believed you?
No, no one believed me. There was a time when I went to elementary school, and we were painting the walls, and we had a professional muralist in. And the muralist asked, what should we put on the wall to represent St. Louis? And people said the Arch and Ozzie Smith. And I said, what about my great-grandpa, Milt Burns? And everyone said, who the hell is that?
So I got to ask you, have you ever priced any of the memorabilia, see how much it's worth?
I have not. You can actually buy a stack of cards of the entire 1944 team that are all hand-drawn. And I bought some of those and gave those to my family members. So it's kind of cool that we have my great-grandpa on a baseball card as well.
Is he buried here in St. Louis?
I believe so. Yeah, I visited his grave once. I forget which one. It's over there off of like 55 in Lime or something. But I've never left St. Louis since then.
It's Grandpa's fault.
He went pro, and then we just thought, yeah, we should stay here.
We should stay here. You mentioned that you worked at one time at the Frontenac movie theater, and it is Hump Tuesday, Dry Hump Wednesday, excuse me. You've got a movie review on Friday. You want to tease it a little bit?
Yeah, we're talking The Odyssey. This is probably the most anticipated movie of the entire summer.
3 hours?
It is 3 hours long. Luckily, I'm a critic, and we did not have to sit through trailers. And I actually had a routine where the 20 minutes before the movie started, I was pacing around Ronnie's Cinema. And every time I came to a bathroom, I went in and just let anything trickle out. Just a little shake here, a little shake there. I peed probably 5 times in that 20 minutes just to make sure I was completely drained. And I did not get up and use the bathroom once during the 3 hours. I was so proud.
So in a 3-hour movie, say you had to go to the restroom, you missed 7 minutes. Will that really make a difference?
It bums me out. They should have a way that you could have your phone connected to closed-circuit television. You could watch it while you're in the toilet, just sitting there. Or at least have the audio pumped in where you have a special AirPod and you can listen to the movie. There's got to be a way. Or just put a porta potty in the front row. We just go in there and you look up at the screen while you're using the bathroom.
Yeah, it probably won't smell too good in the theater, though.
There'll be a fan or something. You know, the seats are heated. They can plug other things in there.
So you heard a preview. Joy is going to be reviewing The Odyssey this coming Friday, the 3-hour extravaganza. Is this possibly in the running for any awards? Does that give
all the awards? Name an award, it's up for it.
All right, and who's starring in this?
It's Matt Damon. It's your boy, you know, Matt Damon.
Born Identity.
Mr. Bourne's in it, yeah. He's an action hero, but in like olden times.
All right, I say this every week, but this may be a movie I may go see.
You may go see it.
I think I've never.
You're not afraid of an epic. You're a big fan of Gone with the Wind, a racist movie from the 30s.
Since you started this official movie review, I have not seen one movie. Now, before when we just did it sporadically, I did go see movies, and I came back. I was like, Joel, you were kind of off on this one. But since it's been official, I have not seen the movie. That's no slight on you or anything.
Maybe you pick the movie next week. Anything on Netflix, I'll review it. We'll team up.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about this horrific case in East St. Louis about the girl and her boyfriend who murdered her family. We'll speak with Vernon Norman, state Senate candidate, at 5:23, and we'll have Steve Manns from Timothy's Restaurant to close out the show. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bull PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Producer Joey V of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here, reminding you, don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Listen to Joey V's Movies Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J. Steakhouse, Freddy's Market, AAA Motor Speedway, and Best Buy Flooring.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9 94.1 and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A new blood test could determine whether someone will develop Alzheimer's disease.
In the study, doctors tested for the presence of a brain protein called p-tau217, which helps fuel Alzheimer's. Dr. Risa Sperling is with Mass General Brigham Neuroscience Institute.
We found that people who have very high levels of this blood test abnormality, p-tau217, were very likely to progress over time. So 38% of them progressed to impairment within 5 years, and actually up to 78% within 10 years.
But Sperling says it's too soon for healthy people to get the blood test, which is now used to help diagnose people who are experiencing cognitive problems. I'm Donna Warder.
Acting United States Attorney General Todd Blanche appeared before senators at his confirmation hearing. Willie Nelson reports.
Acting United States Attorney General Todd Blanche pointed to major crime reductions under the Trump administration while appearing before senators at his confirmation hearing.
If you look at Washington and Memphis as examples, where we have worked with federal, state, and local partners, pulling thousands of criminals off the streets in those two cities. Homicides in D.C. are down about 60%, and overall crime in Memphis declined by more than 40%.
Blanche says federal partnerships with state and local law enforcement are delivering results. Willie Nelson, the White House.
Heavy downpours are still drenching South Texas with the possibility of dangerous flash flooding. The storms also spawned a tornado in San Antonio on Wednesday morning. The downpours began Tuesday, washing out roads and leading to dozens of high water rescues in counties near the Mexico border. On Wall Street, the Dow by 150 points, the Nasdaq rose 162, the S&P advanced 28. More at Town Hall.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085, or biglou.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy tonight, but rain chances are increasing with a few scattered storms in the afternoon to evening, both Thursday and Friday. So tonight, low of 75, we're dry and muggy in the morning. A high of 90, heat index of 98, a little higher humidity for Thursday. And anytime from lunchtime on, let's watch for a few isolated but heavy bursts of some showers or thunder showers. They tend to fade as the sun sets in the evening. That'll happen again on Friday with a high of 90 and again a heat index around 98. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Expert insured tree care in St. Louis, absolutely, provided by Hanson's Tree Care. Not only do they serve the St. Louis metropolitan area, but they serve all the collar counties, and they're also now providing services all across the Lake of the Ozarks region as well, because Hanson's can handle it. Hanson'sTree.com is where you go. Hanson'sTree.com is where you go for expert insured tree care. That includes, of course, your basic tree care and then some. I've got them coming out to my house. We have a tree that got hit with that darn emerald ash borer. Yeah, sounds pretty nasty. It is. We're going to try to save the tree. I may have called them a little too late. That's why anytime you start noticing something with your trees, get Hanson's out there. If they have to take the tree down, they will, and they'll do it expertly. I've had them had to do that as well. And they can take the entire tree down, they can grind the stump, and they'll clean up all their mess, and it looks like there was nothing ever there. And then you can plant a new tree in its place. So that's why Hanson's can do everything for you. Green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, and so much more. Emergency service line is it's a 24/7 emergency service line, and Hanson's can handle any job, big or small. Doesn't matter, daytime, nighttime, holidays. Chad just gets out there and does what needs to be done. He also has awesome organic mulch, and you can do so much on the website. You can apply for a hassle-free estimate, 6 months same as cash financing, and so much more. 24/7, they are available for you at Hanson'sTree.com. That's Hanson'sTree.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody shows up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The charging paperwork filed just hours ago lays out 12 felony counts against Jameer Davis, including 5 counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors say because he's 16, the case is automatically in adult court under Illinois law. Investigators allege Davis used a stolen 9mm pistol in these shootings in East St. Louis. One count alleges he took a 2015 white Chevy Traverse during the violent spree. Also tonight, we're learning he is charged with dismembering a body after investigators say Davis removed a thumb from one of the victims.
507 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and I'm sure you all have heard about this horrific murders that took place in East St. Louis over the weekend. The 15 and 16-year-olds were charged with the murder. The 16-year-old young man, he is the one that actually committed the murders. He murdered his girlfriend's family on her behalf, and I was reading some of the details of this in the Post-Dispatch this morning. They have a quote from her from the group chat that she was involved in with other teenagers. Says, "Babe, I'm finna lose my whole family for you." And she continued in the exchange, "I love blood." Just horrific, first of all, how you can murder members of your own family. And I have a lot of questions, too, regarding this case. Sunday, they interviewed her father. Her father and mother were separated. They weren't together. One of the first questions that I had, Joy, was why not murder your mother and your father? Why are you murdering your family members? And the report said that the young lady was upset because she was getting in trouble in school, and so they took her out of school and were homeschooling her, and she was very upset about that. But I have my own speculation on why she didn't kill her own parents. I think that my speculation, I think that she was so angry with her parents, but she didn't have the heart, didn't want to kill them because I guess she loved them. So the next worst way to get at them was to kill people that were close to them. Does that sound like a pretty good amateur psychology analysis?
You cannot psychologize these psychos because they're trying to get away with stuff, but by hiding bodies under piles of laundry, not thinking that they have a snitch in their pocket at all times. Their cell phone is being pinged on all these towers. They were tracked down instantly.
And, you know, I've watched a lot of true life crime stories. My wife loves these. She got me into Law and Order, I have to admit. But I've watched enough of these shows to know, Joy, that whenever a family member is killed, the first suspect is always somebody within the family. And you would expect 5 members of the same family being killed, that you would be the first suspect. That there doesn't show a lot of forethought. Second, you talked about the murders on a Snapchat conversation describing that you wanted to kill your family members. I mean, how can you not know that that's going to be evidence that's going to surface? And like you said, I mean, they didn't do a very good job of hiding the crime. It's just, they talk about, teenagers, 15, 16, 17-year-old, at that stage of your life, your brains are not, totally formed yet. But just the level of non-thinking in this is just amazing to me. How in the world did you ever think that you were going to get away with something like this?
There's this subreddit that I was curious about. It's called Dalou, D-A-L-O-U, and it's just all of the gangsters that are in St. Louis showing off their guns.
I've seen that on Facebook.
And I don't understand how these kids aren't shooting each other in the face more often, because there's always somebody with the phone that's filming them, and they all have their guns that are just tricked out. Like they have these big, cylinders underneath the gun, so it's holding 100 more bullets, and they're just pointing them at the camera, and they're doing the gang signs, and they're throwing money in the air. And it's just, if you are in that ecosystem of the gangster life where everything's a music video and you're creating music and killing people is, a badge of honor, it'll warp your brain. And I wonder if they're looking at this stuff on Instagram or wherever they find it, TikTok, all day and thinking, oh, I'm a gangster too. I can kill people.
I just watched those videos yesterday. It's a channel on Facebook. Somehow it has got into my algorithm, and so the videos come up. This particular channel, they show gangsters from all over the country, but they do focus on St. Louis. And one of the neighborhood videos that I watched yesterday was the Walnut Park video. They are supposed to be, that's supposed to be the worst neighborhood in St. Louis where the real gangsters are at. And I watch those videos and I guess I admire them in a sense, is like they, with their fearlessness when it comes to death, they just don't care. I mean, you wonder, how can you live that type of lifestyle where you're looking over your back, looking over your shoulder, wondering at any time somebody's going to drive by and shoot you, or something happen to you, and they just don't care. They just don't care. The video I watched yesterday, the guy was in a car and he was bragging about he had just got out of the hospital like 4 days earlier because he had been shot. He pulls up his shirt, still have the staples, in his stomach, from where they closed him up. And he's like, yeah, and I was shot over here on the side, and you're seeing bullet wounds. It's just a hopelessness that is so sad. And it's almost like, don't you want anything out of life? Don't you want to try to aspire for something? Don't you know that this is a lifestyle that you're probably not going to live very long, or if you do live, that you're going to go to jail probably for decades? It's just, the hopelessness is just something it's hard for me to just get my head around.
And the Post-Dispatch is reporting that the kid that did all these murders, he has a public defender. He's got a lawyer. And the lawyer says that girl's family threatened his life with their guns.
Yeah.
So it's like no one is in the right at all. And this all happened in East St. Louis, and everyone knows that's the bad St. Louis. Even Chevy Chase knows you don't go and roll your windows down.
Roll up. I think when I read that, I think the public defender is trying to set up a self-defense, defense that this guy was in fear for his life because her family had drawn guns on him before. But, I mean, this is premeditated. I mean, you planned it out on the internet that you wanted to kill this family. And it's, you talk about a twist on Romeo and Juliet and star-crossed lovers. I mean, how in the world... And the sad thing, too, this kid, he's 16 years old. He had no prior criminal record at all. And he has just completely thrown his life away. He's fortunate, I guess, for lack of better words, that he did this in Illinois and not in Missouri. Because if he was in Missouri in about 20 years, he'd be getting a needle in his arm. But Illinois doesn't have the death penalty. So he'll probably spend years in jail. They're trying to certify him as an adult. I hope they do. I'd hate to see a person murder 5 people and then be put into a juvenile program, and then by the time he's 21, they let him out.
And he'd be more famous than ever, and he could make videos on these subreddits and these reels and have a rap career, and, good for him.
One thing that was bizarre about this case, and they mentioned it in the clip, is that the grandmother, I think she was 64 years old, the assailant allegedly, or did, the alleged assailant cut off the grandmother's right thumb. And I was like, the hell? Is he not only sick in the head, but he's, to commit a murder like this, but he's also some macabre person that cuts off body parts like Jeffrey Dahmer or something. And so I kind of looked it up. I was like, are there gang rituals that's something that you do when you murder somebody, that you cut off their thumb as some type of prize? And then it hit me, Joey. As I said, I watch a lot of crime programs, a lot of movies, and you've seen this many times in movies. And they said it today that the reason that he cut her right thumb off was so he could get access to the biometrics on her phone.
Yeah, you imagine would that even work? Do you have to hydrate the thumb? How long do you keep it in ice? This kind of reminds me.
It works in the movies. You just cut the thumb off and you use it.
It must work. My secret is I actually set up my biometrics with my pinky. So if you kill me, make sure you get the pinky.
Yeah. Don't say that.
Oh, I'm not supposed to say that on the air. Yeah, this does sound like one of those Lifetime or whatever murder shows that Todd Showalter and his wife is always watching. There was this famous one with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, where she was this little girl who had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where the mom made her fake that she was sick. Yeah. Put her in a wheelchair, poisoned her for years and years, and then finally she had her boyfriend kill her mom. So it's like that Romeo and Juliet, I'm being abused, take out my mom, but I don't want to get my hands dirty type of thing.
I'll make a disclosure myself. For my biometrics on my phone, I don't use my thumb either.
Use your nose.
The reason why I don't use my thumb is because it's too hard for me to put it on the thing and make sure that I do it correctly. It just hurts. So mine is my index finger. Maybe I shouldn't tell.
Don't tell people.
Maybe I shouldn't tell people that. But yeah, I use my index finger for my biometric. I do not use my thumb. But boy, this is a horrific, sad case. It makes me wonder, are they just are they cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Are they mentally unbalanced? Or are they just that evil?
I don't know. In the byline for Post-Dispatch, it said Belleville. I was like, uh-oh, that's where the crazy people are from. We've got our movie critic, Kathy Kaiser, and we've got producer Ashley, and they're both from Belleville. I think something's going on, but I think it just meant the St. Clair County Police are in charge of the investigation over there in East St. Louis. So I think we're safe. I don't know if we need to keep the Belleville people locked out just yet.
You know, we had the judge on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I apologize. I can't remember her name completely. She's running for St. Charles County judge. And she talked about, she encouraged people to come into her courtroom to watch trials and things. And I got to admit, that's something that I have said that I want to do for years. Whenever there's some big high-profile trial or something, I always say I'm going to go down to Clayton, I'm going to go to the courthouse, and I want to check out the crime, true crime, watch the trial.
Mm-hmm.
This may be one that I actually go over to St. Clair County to the court when this comes to trial and watch it myself, because I want to try to understand this. What would make you at 16? I know you don't have as much impulse control and your brain is not as formed, but I want to try to understand the psychology of this.
It doesn't seem real. I can't wrap my head around it.
It is bizarre. All right, we are going to have, coming into the studio with us next is Vernon Norman. He's a candidate for State Senate District 14. And, of course, the primary is August 4th. We'll talk to him about safety, schools, jobs, and tax reform, and ask him who he is and why are you running for this office. And then at 5:43, we'll speak with Steve Manns. He's owners of Timothy's Restaurant. We'll see what they have cooking up, see if they have any new items that they want to promote, what's some good food that they're cooking there. And, well, that's going to be tomorrow. I'll tease it. We're going to talk about, at the end of the show tomorrow, pretzels and political patronage. Just keep that in mind. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy tonight, but rain chances are increasing with a few scattered storms in the afternoon to evening, both Thursday and Friday. So tonight, low of 75, we're dry and muggy in the morning. A high of 90, heat index of 98, a little higher humidity for Thursday. And anytime from lunchtime on, let's watch for a few isolated but heavy bursts of some showers or thunder showers. They tend to fade as the sun sets in the evening. That'll happen again on Friday with a high of 90 and again a heat index around 98. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile.
So when you're mobile, stay mobile.
Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you
Wherever you go.
Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
As I mentioned before the break, we will have Steve Manns, owners of Timothy's Restaurant, in studio with us. And we discovered Timothy's probably about 6 months ago. And I got to tell you, it's really our go-to restaurant. We love the atmosphere. The ambiance is terrific. Timothy's is the kind of place where you can really relax and enjoy a great meal. It's led by executive chef Will Mabry, and Timothy's serves contemporary American cuisine with a touch of Southern charm. They have great dishes like pastrami smoked lamb and shrimp and grits. My wife, as I told you, absolutely loved the lobster pot pie. Everything we've tried has been incredible. Timothy's also features amazing house-made desserts, and they have over 600 wines to choose from. Enjoy dinner 7 nights a week, plus lunch, brunch, and private events. Timothy's in Bellevue Plaza in Creve Coeur. They're located at 12710 Olive Boulevard, or check them out online at timothysstl.com.
Have you heard those ads claiming Amendment 4 stops conservative amendments?
That's not true. It actually stops a couple big cities from pushing radical ideas into our Constitution. Remember 2024? Only 8 out of 114 counties voted to allow transgender surgeries on children.
That's terrifying. We can't let just a handful of counties rule the whole state.
Exactly. Amendment 4 requires broad statewide support and keeps foreign money out of our elections. Vote yes on 4 this August 4th.
Paid for by Freedom Principal MO, Missouri First PAC. Kate Sickles, Treasurer.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Your trees do a lot for you. Shade, beauty, curb appeal, but are they safe? Clever Tree Service has been protecting St. Louis homes and landscapes for over 20 years. Pruning, trimming, removal, stump grinding, even 24/7 emergency storm service. Fully insured, eco-friendly, and always focused on you. From Kirkwood to Chesterfield, Webster Groves to Wildwood, your neighbors trust Clever Tree Service. Visit clevertreeservice.com for your free quote today.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Let's give you a live look at Lambert International Airport. Good news for those looking to get overseas quickly. British Airways is adding a 5th nonstop flight to London starting next March. The airline has been doing direct flights 4 days a week over the last few months. Well, Lambert officials say demand has been really strong, so they're adding another flight next year.
5:24 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And good news for St. Louis that British Airways has added another flight here. Maybe we'll become a hub once again. Probably not.
I actually love that vintage TWA merchandise. It just makes me feel proud of how St. Louis used to be when we were a hub.
We were the Shiznit at one time.
Of course.
But no longer. All right, in studio with us is my good friend Vernon Norman, He's a candidate for State Senate District 14. And as a disclosure, my wife is an unpaid volunteer on his campaign, so we got to throw that legal stuff out there, Vernon. But Vernon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be here.
Before we get started into our questions, tell us the boundaries for District 14.
Sure. So the 14th Senate District goes from the Del Mar Loop all the way up to the Missouri River in Hazelwood and South Florissant. So it's quite large. Includes everything from University City, where I live, to Ferguson, which made national headlines not too long ago. It also includes areas like Olivet, St. Anne, very robust areas. So it's a pretty large district, but it's one of the districts that has a very high density of municipalities. So when you hear the word fragmentation and returns to St. Louis, we're ground zero for that. So there's over 40 municipalities within the actual district. So it's quite a handful.
Vernon, you are a relatively new to the St. Louis area, and a question I always ask kind of first-time candidates is, what the hell is wrong with you? Why do you want to get involved in politics and run for elected office?
Sure. So I'll take that as a welcome. So,
yeah.
So I can answer that a few ways. One thing I'll say is, I'm originally from California, which for those of you that are familiar with me and my campaign, that's not news. But I first became acquainted with St. Louis when I met my wife, who was studying at SLU. And I came to visit her, and I realized, St. Louis is a great city and a great place to live, and it was just really easy compared to where I grew up in Southern California. But going back even further, I started in politics, door knocking on city council races and local politics and races in Southern California. And I don't know, I thought it was fun. So I'm one of those weird people. I was kind of into politics a little bit, but I just thought it was fun talking to people, meeting them, getting to see different parts of the area I grew up in. And so I just kind of plugged into politics from there. Did a few things with the party in California. I lived in Utah for a bit there, did more with the party there. And then did a bit, back in California when I lived just before moving here, was quite involved with the young Republicans there, and then starting to be more involved with the LA County Republicans as well. So I've been been involved in the party for quite some time, and I don't know, just a little bit of a political junkie, but more or less, I just view it as an obligation. A lot of times we think of politics as, rights and so forth, especially given the Bill of Rights and all that, but I view it as an obligation to be involved. It's not just something that, we have the right to do. We have the responsibility to do that. And so that's my view on it.
As we all know, California is known as a blue oasis. A lot of Democratic voters there, especially in the bigger cities. As you've gone door to door speaking to voters, what's the difference between a California voter and maybe a Midwestern voter, or is there a difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I learned from door knocking is that typically there's a lot less, daylight between voters than would it seem based on the news. When you talk to people at the door, generally, one, they're very friendly and they like to have their voice heard, regardless of what their political persuasion might be. And especially here, talking to voters, conservative voters more or less, they feel like they've lost a voice because, those of you who've been here much longer than me remember when St. Louis kind of led the state in a lot of things, and now St. Louis is leading the state in a lot of things we don't want to lead in. But folks here generally kind of look back on a time when St. Louis was kind of, driving the state, driving growth, driving everything for the state. But because of who we've been sending to Jefferson City, we don't really, get that voice anymore. And so talking to voters here, I get the sense that they're looking for someone that's going to represent them and not the special interests in St. Louis City, but really focus on the district and the things that matter for the district. And that's one of the things that I think is going to be really important in this election.
What are some of the changes or things that you'd like to see improved or brought to the 14th district? What are some things that you're seeing that's lacking?
Sure. One of the things that's really lacking is someone that's going to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Senate leadership instead of toe to toe, right? We don't have to fight over the things that are really important to our district. And one of the things that I get from talking to voters is a focus on schools, right? So school districts are the heart of our communities, and there's 7 districts in my Senate district, including one of the best in the state, which is the Ladue School District, and the others that are looking for our chances to improve and grow. And I think that one of the things that I've noticed is, with some of the decisions we make about who represent us, our perspective on things doesn't get heard in the way that it needs to be for the area. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a leader at a luncheon we had a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned that he's a church leader, and he mentioned that a lot of the people, the families in his church, are concerned about the quality of the schools, and not necessarily the education, but in St. Louis, we've got schools that are very old, right? School buildings that go back to the 50s, 60s, 20s, or even 30s. And in my district, I represent, or will represent, one of the areas where we've got some of those old school buildings. And so being able to advocate for not just the districts themselves, but the parents and families, and making sure that we get the funding back. And that's one of the things that I think is going to be really different now is, with who we've been sending to Jefferson City, we don't get a lot back for what we send. And so I want to make sure that that's a thing that I prioritize, is getting funding back for the schools in the district, and maybe looking at how we can improve the quality of the school buildings themselves, make sure they're welcoming and friendly, because that's feedback I've gotten from voters throughout the district.
Vernon, I know one of the priorities for you is education. It's personal for you. Both of your parents were educators. My mother was a fifth grade teacher as well. Talk about your background in that and how that really makes you focus on education issues.
Yeah, it's very personal, and for us it was really Christian education, but I believe it's the true for all education. My grandfather, received his bachelor's degree back in the 40s, right in the South, in the deep South, the real South, when there weren't a lot of opportunities for people especially black people, even if you got education, there weren't a lot of opportunities. You had to create them. And so that created a sense of pride in the community, but also the importance of education as a tool to refine the character. But that was really true for Christian education back decades ago. But what it taught us and taught all of us in my family is that, when you focus on certain things, it helps you not only be prepared for the workforce, but learn new things, be exposed to different people, different ideas, and also be challenged in ways that you don't expect. And that's really what education is about. It's about challenging us to grow and improve. And that starts at a very early age and goes all the way through college, university. But that's something that goes, way back deeply in my family, like I mentioned, back to my grandfather, as far as back as I know, and perhaps further than that. And there's always been a strong emphasis down through the generations on education, especially formal education, but also on lifelong education. And so that's where it comes from. Like you mentioned, my parents were both educators. They worked, my father worked through in the church schools in California and elsewhere. And then when we moved back to California, he actually worked in the public school system as well. So we've got experience on my family on both sides. And it's just always been something that was impressed upon us as how my family elevated itself in the South when things were challenging for us.
Speaking with Vernon Norman, he's candidate for State Senate District 14th. He's joining us in studio, of course. Vernon, the 14th District has been led by a Democrat for a lot of years. How do you convince people in that district to give you a chance and vote something that they've normally been voting for years for the Democratic ticket?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things I'll highlight is that I'm not the only Republican running in North County. So we've got a full ballot for a lot of places in the district on Republicans, and so I'm not going to be the only Republican on the ballot. I'm not the only one who's actually actively campaigning in the area, and so there's actually a lot of us who are leading the charge, if you will, in North County, and the voters see that. One thing I will say that I've learned from talking to voters is that, one, they want their voice to be heard. And I've noticed this, throughout the district. Typically, they're not very well approached, right? They might get some mail, but no one really comes to the door to talk to them, hear what they have to say. The other thing is voters know that they can split the ticket, especially for folks that might feel strongly about certain candidates for Congress or other parts of the county. They know they can split the ticket for me, and I've heard voters say that they're willing to do that. But really just comes down to whether or not voters are ready to actually have a voice in Jefferson City, rather than someone that, again, can stand shoulder to shoulder with Senate leadership instead of toe to toe, fighting uselessly, because as we've all known, the Republican majority has just expanded, over the years. And so, while the incumbent has, been done about as well as you could expect for a Democrat for the area, I think there's a great opportunity for new leadership, but also for the voters of the district to have an actual voice that will represent the entire district and not just certain parts of it or the special interests that they're beholden to in St. Louis City.
I want to emphasize that you are on the ballot on the primary by yourself. You do not have an opponent, so you're looking ahead to the general election. Of course, you've given kind of a strategy that you have to be successful. What other things can you do to convince some of these folks that you are capable of doing this job and can represent them well?
That's a great question. And I'll just point out to a recent article the Missouri Independent put out highlighting this race in the Democratic primary and how there isn't really anyone with name ID. And so there's a huge opportunity because it's an open seat and none of the opposition really has broad appeal or name ID throughout the district. And so we've just got to get the word out. We're doing that. We've put out some press here and there. Here talking to you, Chris. I'm on social media. We've got a great website. Encourage you to check it out. But also we're canvassing the district actively. We've got great volunteers, like you mentioned, your wife is one. We've got great volunteers, others, and I'm out there as often as I can. Not every day, I still work, but I'm out there as often as I can talking to voters, putting up signs, distributing literature, and hosting events. And so we're out there, we're actively campaigning. We're visible in the district, and everywhere we go, we've had a strong reception. And so I'm excited for the August 4th primary because it'll be a good indication of the enthusiasm we can generate throughout the district, but also for the November election where the real test will be whether voters are ready to have a voice in Jefferson City or if they're looking for more of the same.
I want to say that the Arps proudly have a Vernon Norman yard sign in our front yard, and your slogan is Missouri Families First. Expound on that.
Yeah, so one of the things that really struck out to me is it's a broader issue, and it's one throughout the country, but obviously everyone knows the birth rate's going way down, and there are a lot of reasons that's happening. But I wanted to prioritize things here that will not only attract new families to move to Missouri, like myself. We moved here because to us it was a better place to raise our family.
Less
but also
taxes.
That's part of it, but there's other things too. And then also for folks that are already here to be encouraged to start families. And so I want to be a voice for the younger generation in a sense where a lot of us are looking at the way things have gone over the last 10 to 15 years. And especially for a lot of young men, there's just challenges out there that weren't there when I started out in my career, or perhaps when you started out, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to look at that, make sure I'm a voice for the younger generation, but also prioritize policies that put families first over the special interests and everyone else out there that seems to be getting a voice and isn't.
Vernon, if people wanted to get involved with your campaign, if they wanted yard signs, if they wanted to volunteer, if they want to walk doors for you, how would they go about doing that?
Sure. The best way is to get in contact with me through our website. It's normanformissouri.com. You can go there, or you can find us on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but the best place is to go to the website and put your contact information in. Again, it's normanformissouri.com. You can see everything that we stand for in the campaign there. And again, that's the best place, best way to get in touch with me. Also, if you know Chris, Chris is my neighbor,
Yep.
And so if you know the Arps, they can also get you in contact with me directly as well.
All right, Vernon, the final minute is yours. Give the audience your 1-minute elevator speech on why you should be the next state senator for the 14th district.
Sure. Well, I think the best case is really to for Missouri or for St. Louis to rejoin the majority. Again, most of you will remember when the state was more of a swing state. St. Louis and other counties were typically sending Democrats, but there was a lot of need for bipartisanship, and that isn't the case anymore, right? Because the Republican majority has just expanded and continues to expand, and St. Louis is getting left behind. And so if you're a voter in St. Louis and you want to have actual representation for St. Louis, the 14th Senate District is the core of St. Louis County, and also part of the North. If you want an actual voice in Jefferson City, I'm that voice. If you want someone who's going to represent families and focus on families and policies that help the younger generation get ahead and get started, I'm your voice. And if you want someone who's ultimately going to be accountable to the people, right, active in the district, I'm already present. I plan to be here and available and accessible. I always am and always will be. If you want to have access, right, not just someone who's going to be in Jefferson City all the time and never be accountable to the people, I'm 100% that candidate. So again, and lastly, if I will be a member of the majority and advocate for St. Louis tirelessly and endlessly to make sure that we get our money back.
And before we go, because I don't want your wife to kill me, you are married and have a family. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Like I joked earlier, I was late for hair and makeup, but it was because we were cutting my son's hair. So I've got 3 sons, Jack, Will, and Hastings. Hastings is the youngest. He's 10 months, and then Jack and Will are 5 and 4. And so we were doing haircuts before, after nap time before. And my wife, Ann, I mentioned, went to SLU. She's originally from Ohio, but so we're both Missouri transplants, but we love it here. And like I said, we live in University City. So if you see the signs, now you know who it's for.
And that's Vernon Norman, candidate for State Senate, District 14, normanformissouri.com. I urge you to get involved. This is a dynamic young man, and Senate 14 needs new leadership drastically. I've lived in it 15 years, so I can attest to that. Vernon, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming in. Please give your lovely wife and family our hello. We have next in studio with us Steve Manns. He's owner of Timothy's Restaurant in Creve Coeur. We'll ask him what's new on the menu on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Warm and muggy tonight, but rain chances are increasing with a few scattered storms in the afternoon to evening, both Thursday and Friday. So tonight, low of 75, we're dry and muggy in the morning. A high of 90, heat index of 98, a little higher humidity for Thursday. And anytime from lunchtime on, let's watch for a few isolated but heavy bursts of some showers or thunder showers. They tend to fade as the sun sets in the evening. That'll happen again on Friday with a high of 90 and again a heat index around 98. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hi, it's Ken. There was just a rare House maneuver made that could have just handed conservatives a major opportunity. We'll talk with Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal about that Thursday at 11:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, let me tell you about another place that I just don't endorse. I actually go there myself. It is the Dental Link. I love Dr. Link and his son Andrew. They run the Dental Link there in Baldwin. It doesn't feel like one of those cold clinical offices. It actually feels like a place where people actually enjoy working there, and that matters when you have somebody working on your teeth. Now, for me, this is personal. I've had dental implants done there. That's no small thing. That's serious dental work. And they walked me through the whole process step by step. No pressure, no confusion, just straight answers, making sure I was comfortable the whole time. If you've been putting something like that off because you're nervous, hey, I get it. I was nervous. But here's what you should know. They offer many dental implants, which are less invasive, quicker recovery, and a lot less discomfort than the traditional route. I'll tell you this, getting my implants done was a game changer. They look natural, they feel natural, and honestly, it gave me a level of confidence back I didn't even realize I was missing. If you've been thinking about it, just go talk to them. The Dental Link, as I said, are located in Baldwin, right there at 141 and Manchester. Give them a call today at 636-496-8584 or check them out at thedentallink.com, thedentallink.com. Do good, do it well, have fun doing it. That's their motto.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Let's take a break.
Good idea.
Hey, Tom, what are you doing on that Amendment 4?
You know we fought for our freedom and rights. I'm not giving them away without a fight.
4 takes them?
That's exactly what 4 does. For over 100 years, Missouri voters have used our constitutional power to act when the politicians refused. I'll be darned if I'm voting to pass on less freedom and power to my kids.
And doesn't 4 also kill majority rule?
Yup. Creates minority rule, or just 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one Missouri congressional district that block any citizen-led reform, making it nearly impossible to pass common-sense conservative citizen ballot measures.
That's crazy town stuff.
And we've needed our citizen ballot measure power to pass some big conservative stuff, like outlawing tax hikes without voter approval, lobbyist reforms, and term limits for career politicians.
No way I'm letting a tiny fraction of liberals derail our conservative power. I'm no on Amendment 4.
Hard no on 4.
Pay 4 buttons or inch, prepare governance.
We're having a party, dancing to the music.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
DJ on the radio.
546 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and in studio with us is Steve Manns. He's the owner of Timothy's Restaurant in Creve Coeur, and you hear me talk about them often. Great food, great service, great ambiance. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, I didn't learn until after the interview with Vernon Norman. You are a U-City resident as well. I had no idea.
I am. We moved there from the West End in 2019, right before COVID, so had a good time there.
All right, Timothy's Restaurant, lobster pot pie, I love. You've got an executive chef, Will Mabry, there. I guess the one thing I want to ask is what new menu items do you have coming up to test our palate?
To be honest, nothing new. We do our menu shift of fall, winter, and spring, summer. We won't change our menu till right around September. We do a lot of specials. We got a lot of regulars that come in. So we just did about 5 days of sea bass that we did with the risotto. What he's got coming next, what we can find that is in season. It just depends on that. And we try to do a lot of specials so that we can keep people happy and then still have our normal menu. Our new menu will start in September, and we'll keep our normal favorites and then add a few twists, a few seasonal things, a few things that go on from there. But today, I'm just here to hang out with you.
You know, it's interesting that you said sea bass. I am a very particular eater. I don't usually eat a lot of new things, very picky. But ever since COVID, when there wasn't any sports on TV, my wife got into the Food Channel because we love watching competition. So every night when I go home, we watch Beat Bobby Flay. We watch, right now they've got a barbecue competition going on. So I'm kind of really into that. And it's ironic that you talked about sea bass because that was one of the items on Beat Bobby Flay that they had to cook the other day. You have described your food as Southern comfort food. What exactly does that mean?
I would say
or did I say it right?
Well, I would say American classic with a Southern twist.
Right.
So Will, again from South Carolina, has an influence of Southern things. The red snapper, the shrimp and grits, the I'm lacking words right now.
Because you have so much.
But a few different ingredients and season and things that go into that. But he is very, very good at finding something and trying this twist on it, trying that twist on. We just did, before the sea bass, we did a cod with a miso that was kind of mixed into it. So,
all right, what's a miso? What is that?
Just kind of a flavoring, a sauce that goes with it to kind of enhance it, everything. But he's very good at finding something and creating something that doesn't necessarily stay in one type. He does have his roots, but he's able to manipulate and to move, finding the protein or the whatever and kind of expanding out from there.
I got to tell you one thing. I've taken a couple of friends to Timothy's. One of them got the shrimp and grits, and he said this was the best he'd ever had. He'd never had shrimp and grits with bacon bits in it. Is that one of those things that Chef Mabry does a little different, throws things in there like that?
Each one, especially shrimp and grits, the fact that you point that out, everybody's got their own little style with it, and he does put his bacon in. But we can take the bacon out in case somebody's wanting to know. But I would say that he is more of the sauce, the New Orleans or NOLA barbecue sauce, Worcestershire based. I would say that's what really kind of separates it on top of the poblano grits. So each component can change a shrimp and grits no matter what you do. And how you put those together is what separates each chef from each chef.
I tell you another dish that I've taken a couple of friends there and they love, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong or say it wrong, but it was the pork sandwich that's really, really big.
The pork tenderloin?
The pork tenderloin. Talk about that, and why is it so big?
Well, so a pork tenderloin, if you're going to do a sandwich with it, they typically take the loin, then they pan it out, make it, I'm sure I'm pounding on the counter there.
Right.
But you pound it out, make it a little bit thinner, bread it, fry it, stick it on there. If it's too thick, you really can't get it right. So it tends to go a little larger. We actually do it for brunch as well, and we'll do it kind of like a eggs on top, grits surrounded with it, just kind of a nice gravy with it. So when you pound it out, it thins it out. You move on. You do your thing with it.
What is your most popular menu item here in the summertime? What do people like to eat in the summertime? What's been popular?
I would say it's actually pretty standard. We do a lot of burgers, especially with happy hour, lunch, and dinner with those. Shrimp and grits, the lamb, obviously the steak, because Midwest, we like our steaks here. But I would say it's been solid all the way through. I do love to see people enjoying the smoked pork chop, just to kind of see a little bit more flair to it and a little more fun.
You know, you talk about the happy hour. I always joke with you. You need to extend it because I'm by the time I'm off, I think it's over. It's got an hour to go. I'm like, you got to extend it to like 8 o'clock or something like that.
We said this last time. We'll start at 2:30. Start at 2:30.
Yeah,
Come on in before you get here.
Steve, that's radio prep time. I don't think the owners would appreciate me coming in slurring my words before my show. Speaking of the happy hour, last time I was in there, you about freaked me out because you guys have an extensive wine collection. You have 600 bottles of wine. Originally it was 500, and you told me, no, Chris, we have 600 now. You showed me a bottle of wine that was $4,000, and I didn't even want to touch it because I was like, I don't want to knock this thing over, and then I'm like pulling out my credit card trying to pay for this.
I believe that wine, cocktails, beer, everything, everybody enjoys what they want to enjoy. If you get to the point where a $4,000 bottle of wine is what $50 is to me and you, enjoy it. Have fun with it. It's there, but there's plenty of other ones that range anywhere from 40 to 60 that you can enjoy, have a great experience.
You know, I'm not a big wine guy, but can you tell the difference between a $4,000 bottle of wine and a $40 bottle of wine? Is there a real difference?
On my credit card, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
For sure. I mean, I think that there are
palate-wise.
On some subtleties, yes. Once you drive a really, really nice car, you can tell the difference between an okay car and a really nice car. Can I tell it right off the bat? No. Yeah. But to me, it's everywhere where you want to be and how do you want to be, and you just kind of go from there.
I haven't had a chance to experience it yet. I've been to Timothy several times with my wife and with friends. I always recommend it. But you guys also have an outside patio as well. Talk about that. How many people does that seat?
We have an outside patio now. Now, unfortunately, it's been closed last week and probably closed this week just because we try to cut it off at 85 degrees because we do fan that the dining room door, so we don't want to try to bring in too much heat into the dining room door. So when it's nice, we got some fans blowing out there, 85 and less. We try to have fun with it. I will say that it is covered in an enclosed and heated. So when we hit those October to March, I can actually have groups out there. It's seats, and it's 8 tables, 24 seats, but we found that we could do a 30 top for a private events out there with it being closed. Obviously, we wouldn't want to schedule that when it's hot because I don't have air conditioning. I have heat. Right. So,
and we talked about this last time that you were here. You have a private room for people they can rent out or lease out, however you say it. And, of course, it was funded by our good friends over at Royal Bank. Tell them about the private room.
Well, I can't say enough about Royal Bank and Mitch Baden, but they helped us to get the room. It's 2 collapsible walls. The first time I heard it, I was thinking of like back in high school when they're separating.
Oh, I remember that.
The little click-clack ones. So these are not like that at all. These are actually sound deafening. You could actually do this show in there. We have a TV set up in there. I'd say 24 could face the TV and all kind of look at it. Otherwise, a private room, 26, 28, and still be comfortable and still have privacy and still be able to do whatever needs to be done, not have other people around you. But, yeah, I mean, and on top of that, what we found when we started doing that, we were seeing groups that were looking for like 40, 50. Well, we can do 40, 50, so we'll put them in the dining room, and then we'll shift everything else into that bar bistro area. So we're able to do a lot of different things, and the fact that we have the private room has allowed us to see and experience more for people that are looking for larger groups.
And what are the hours at Timothy and the days of the week that you're open?
Monday through Friday, lunch is going to be I just lost my 11 to 2:30. Now, we never close, so 2:30 until 6, we go into happy hour, and then we start dinner in the middle of that. Saturday, we are open from 4 to 10. Saturday, we open 10 o'clock to 2:30 for brunch, 4 to 8 for dinner. We are able to do private events on Saturday during the day for, since we're closed, we're able to do baby showers, bridal showers, all of that.
That is Timothy's Restaurant, timothysstl.com. Give me the address right quick.
12710 Olive, 63141.
Highly, highly recommended from Chris and Becky Arps. Steve, thank you for coming in, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Coming up next is Larry Connors USA, the story behind the story, the building of Mount Rushmore. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Under Law has been here for years.